Welcome to the Black Science TV 111 Conference Hour. I'm your host, Dr. Osei Kufuor. This is my first show, and I just wanted to just say to those who are listening in on the line or for those who are tuning in to the conference to please mute your phones so that the interruptions will not reveal itself. I repeat, please mute your phones for the respect of others and yourself. Welcome. All right. Today will be a short conference, yet very informative. Hopefully, I don't jump all over the place as I tend to do so a lot due to how fast the information comes to me. But I am a metaphysician / geneticist. I am a father, a teacher, a student, but overall, I am everything in the jurisdiction of creation. Before I go any further, I would like to send positive energy to everyone on the line, to your families. I would like to send positive energy to the melanated children that is coming out of the wombs, because they are going to be the key to the evolution of everything that's to come, okay? So we're going to go ahead into the show because tonight is going to be kind of cut short. We'll have a 15 or 20-minute show, but we'll have a Q&A afterwards. Again, I will give the information for the call-in number to do your Q&A. Everybody will have 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes to ask their question, all right? Now, today we're going to talk about extraterrestrial energy and empty energy. We live in a society where you have white people who are psychologically inferior, genetically inferior, so they have historically created a box that is embedded within racism, and this same box that they have created has laws that says to black people in particular, that as black people we are not allowed to step into the jurisdiction of racism that they themselves created. Now, when you hear people saying that extraterrestrials create mankind, the extraterrestrials that they are speaking on is us. We have an extraterrestrial in our DNA, which is the brown germ, what they call in the Nation of Islam, or what Elijah Muhammad would call Yaqub. See, everybody look at Yaqub as being a person who existed, but this was not a person who existed. Metaphysically, this is something that we have in our DNA that creates every color spectrum within the rainbow, because you have to understand that black is not a color. All right? And from this brown germ, you can genetically modify or engineer it to its final modification, which you will get a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pale-skinned, weak-boned being. I'm not going to say human being because they're not human. And because white folk like to say that they were first in all of this, they to prove, this is why 2 black people can give birth to an albino with blonde hair and blue eyes. And 2 white people can only give birth to themselves. And this is why today they are at a battle for our DNA. This is not a physical battle. This is a spiritual DNA warfare we are dealing with. Now, I need you all to keep these hospitals that I'm about to name in mind, because this year you have certain private corporations such as Cinemex and other private corporations doing contracts with various hospitals in America for organs and things of that nature. The reason why is because you have these melanin camps in Alaska and in the so-called Middle East, where Europeans are being housed in these underground laboratories, being pumped full of melanin that they are extracting from these organs that are being taken out of black people who are going into these hospitals for surgery. Y'all remember the NAACP president who just got exposed by our own mother, who was portraying to be black, but she was white. But we didn't stop to ask how many more are out here pumping themselves for the melanin that's infiltrating the black community. Because now you have the CIA, who is a part of FEMA, that is injecting white people with melanin and diseases and sending them into white communities. In ghettos and hoods all over America, there you have white people who look like they black. And they know that black men love these white women. So therefore, it's about depopulation. First and foremost, it's about depopulation. All right? Now, they have all of these underground camps in Alaska and in the so-called Middle East, which they are keeping these Europeans underground because the universe is now dispersing certain chemicals that their DNA is in opposition to. Their DNA is fighting it, and now they have to go to certain geographical areas of the universe to be able to exist. They are harvesting these organs in these hospitals when they put you to sleep. So when you got family members going into these hospitals and they go and they put them under the sleep, you have to understand that while they're asleep, they're taking these organs out of them. They can take organs out of you and you don't even know they took them out of you. You get what I'm saying? Make sure everybody got their phones on mute. I can hear people talking. Put your phones on mute. Now, the list of hospitals that are doing organ harvesting who have contracts with the Cinemex: George Washington Hospital, which is in Washington, D.C., Johns Hopkins, which is in Maryland, St. Joseph's Hospital in Syracuse, New York, Grady Hospital in Atlanta, Emory Hospital in Atlanta, Lynchburg General in Lynchburg, Virginia, which Jerry Falwell and Planned Parenthood got a hand in, the University of Chicago Medical Center, Thomas Jefferson University of Philadelphia, and etc. They won't put it on the news, but they have discovered bodies of African children in the deserts of Africa with their organs missing. Now I'm just going to read from an article in the New York Post. It's an old article, but they're still doing it. It's posted October the 20th, 2013. It says, a young girl has been smuggled out of Africa and sold for organ harvesting, authorities have revealed, and it is the first case of a child being trafficked into Britain for the express intention of providing organs for people desperate for a transplant. But that's a lie. That's not the first one. They've been doing this. They've been doing this since the late 70s. All right. The girl whose identity has been protected was taken from Somalia and smuggled into the UK so that her organs could be removed and sold. A British government revealed human trafficking has reached record levels, rising by 50% in the last year. Of the 371 African children exploited, most of them were used as slaves or were sexually abused. So this is what we are dealing with. And it goes on to say, according to the World Health Organization, an international shortage of organs for transplantation has led to a black market for organ trading as well as organ transplant tourism. So you have hospitals now. Every hospital, it's just like the judicial system. When you study in the judicial system, it's supposed to be for justice. But we see as black people today, we don't have justice. We don't have justice. So it's the same thing. The same people that control the judicial system control the medical facilities. So therefore, when you go into the medical facility, it's not to cure you. It's to experiment on you. Biological patents. So now, like I said, when you go into surgery, and even when they take your blood, what they're doing is they can send it to certain private corporations and sell your DNA. Because as black people, we produce melanin. And melanin is what they use to create melatonin pills. Melatonin pills cannot exist without us. It cannot exist without us. Now, even with us being on the phone, and I just wanted to give that to y'all. Hopefully y'all wrote down those hospitals, because if you have families going into those hospitals, they can, they can be careful. They can, they can write certain affidavits as far as biological patents to let them know, look, if you're doing biological patents, I don't want to deal with it. But the best thing to do is to not eat the foods that they're giving to you. Because if you don't eat the food, you don't have to be a part of their agenda, be a part of the illusion, which they create. And you keep them alive every time you go into that hospital. You keep them alive every time we vote for these people. We keep them alive every time we go into the judicial system. You get what I'm saying? Filing paperwork, thinking that these people are on our side when they're not. So now we're going to jump into the show. Extraterrestrial energy and empty energy. Even with us being on the phone at this moment, we are all connected more so than it appears to be. Because if our thoughts are energy, and we are our thoughts, then every word that we create is an act of us creating ourselves to go into the minds of one another, which means that we are initiating a form of astral projecting when we speak. Every word that we speak is a part of us. That's us. It's energy. Do we ever think where our thoughts come from? The thoughts is not initiated in the brain. You have molecules that's around you that you can't see, that's waiting to be formed as a thought. And this is how powerful we are. We utilize these molecules to build thoughts. So therefore, when we speak and we communicate with somebody else, what we're doing is we're taking a part of ourselves and putting it into the mind of somebody else, and they're becoming a part of us. This is how deep it is. All right? And we're not being killed by police because we are classified as black people. We need to stop saying that. It's not a physical thing. This is a case of DNA envy. This is a case of whites who are heading for extinction because the uterine wall of the European, and I stress this a lot, The uterine wall of the European female is not able to extract or to hold the egg. In order for the egg to hold, this European female would need a male who consisted of an alkaloid in the sperm, and the only person who has an alkaloid in the sperm is the black man. So now we are experiencing a high rate of interracial relationships when 20 or 30 years ago, a black man would be hung for just whistling at a white woman. You see? All right? Now, I can hear people on the phone. I need you all to mute your phones for the respect of others. Mute your phones for the respect of others. Please. Thank you. Now, these European vampires know that a new energy, a spiritual energy, is being born into the mental wombs of those who are the chosen ones. All around us, we have what I call blank energy and extraterrestrial energy. Blank energy is energy that is voided of thoughts, which has to be shaped in the process of communication. And this is what every one of us use when we are communicating with each other. And what is happening is we are entering a part of ourselves into these blank energies and transferring ourselves by way of these blank energies into the mental wombs of those we interact with. And this is what we call picking up on each other's energy. We say that a lot. I'm picking up on this energy. I'm picking up on her energy. So that means that you are becoming a part of them, which is yourself. You can't disconnect yourself from anything around you. You are everything. That's what makes us magnificent. All right? Whereas extraterrestrial energy is energy that is astral projected from other planets, meaning from other beings such as the planets themselves. And these energies can also be thoughts that you've created in another lifetime, or it could be thoughts of people you are with in relationships in a past existence. These extraterrestrial energies, they come back into other people that you may come into contact with in this life. And I do get plenty of distinct calls where people are experiencing meeting others who they feel like they've known before in a past life. Because it is you coming into contact with yourself through other people. And this is what I call extraterrestrial energy. I'm pretty sure many of us say, you know what? I've seen this before. I feel like I've known you before. That's because it's not that you've been knowing somebody else. It's just that you're meeting a part of yourself that broke off from a part of your soul that you are meeting in this lifetime. That's all that is. You're not meeting somebody else that you met in the last lifetime. Only you exist. Only you exist. So when you look into others and see, even looking at somebody and see negative, that's your negative existing. When you look into others and see positive, that's your positive existing. You get what I'm saying? So in the United States government, when it comes to their ufological studies and findings, meaning their studies and findings pertaining to UFOs and things of that nature, you see they utilize different languages and codes to hide the real fact that they are talking about black people, such as global warming, falling stars, falling comets, and etc. They hide the fact that global warming is really talking about the heating up of the planet. When I say heating up of the planet, I'm talking about the new melanin that is being occupied and these new black babies, which is this new energy that is causing the thermostat of the universe to give birth to a higher advanced form of heat that is about to send these vampires back into the cave. See, you got to understand that even today, all over the world, these Europeans are dropping like flies due to the declining of their brain functions and capacity, which is being affected by the equator. You see, the good thing is that these Europeans are missing a certain type of energy in their DNA, which is the neuromelanin or the soul. And because they don't consist of this soul substance, they are not allowed to see or study information past the physical lens. They are physical people. And anything that's physical is what? It is an illusion. Nothing that's physical exists. When you vote, that's physical. See, the only soul that white people have, because a soul is your defense. The only soul that they have is guns. The only soul that they have is drugs. The only soul that they have is alcohol. So therefore, when they use this against us and we fall for it, you get what I'm saying? We become a part of the matrix. We become a part of the matrix. Even though, when we see things in the physical lens, yes, we are seeing things that's connected to the reality, which is us and our dream world, because the dream world, this is a battle for the dreamland. When you watch a Nightmare on Elm Street, you are metaphysically seeing a part of yourself destroying these people when they go into sleep. White people today that's taking melatonin pills, there are studies that they are not waking up out of their sleep. They are not waking up out of their sleep. Why? Because now the organs that they are extracting this melanin from, which black people have in their DNA, the melanin is now in opposition to the energy that they are consistent of, which is a processed energy, just like processed food. And what I'm saying is that these Europeans have no idea what is going on when they are physically murdering our people. And what they don't know is that they are turning up the thermostat of the universe, which is burning their asses up. And this is your global warming and things like that. So when they say global warming, they're not talking about the sun heating up the earth. They're not talking about that. They're speaking in code so that you can't see what's really evolving inside of yourself. Global warming is melanated people evolving. Everybody mute your phones, please. Mute your phones. Can somebody, whoever's on the phone, who doesn't have their phones muted, please mute your phone. Thank you. All right. So, you see, people like to say that we are suffering because of disunity and economic instability, when all along that is an ineffective statement to make to a certain extent. We are suffering from the lack of getting in tune with our spirituality, which in an overall sense covers all in the jurisdiction of self-preservation. When you study in nature, nature is about self-preservation. They don't stress over bills. They don't have a religion. They don't pray to a God. If you walk up to a bird right now and say, let's pray to God, he'll look at you like you're crazy and fly away. Why? Because they are in tune with nature more so than we are. And we're supposed to be over the earth. But yet you can study nature, and nature can teach you a million things about yourself. So when we are introduced to systems such as politics, such as religion, we are being processed. It's just like taking a natural piece of food from the earth and taking it into a laboratory and genetically modifying it. The information of that food now becomes negative. So when we are introduced to books, when you come out of your mother's womb, you don't know what fear is. You don't know what hell is. You don't know what death is. So when people say death is bad, says who? Who created the word death? So now you can say you're conscious. A lot of conscious people say they're conscious, but they still fear death. But if you're conscious, you have to understand that when you fear death, you fear the people who created the word death, which was not you. Death don't exist. Life don't exist. Only thing that exists again is you, which is everything around yourself. So when I'm talking about spirituality, I'm talking about our nature in the further sense of using our power and utilizing it with order. For an example, you don't seek land before a military. You don't seek permission to be something through paperwork before a military without defense to back it up. When we can clearly analyze history and see white people bombing Black Wall Street, white people killing, raping, and conquering the natives and other indigenous people in the name of Christ, and we want to keep doing things out of order, knowing that they have a history of colonization. So if we had the Black Wall Streets, if we had the pyramids, which Dr. Malachi York had, a great ancestor of ours, you get what I'm saying? And it didn't work then. Now we have to eliminate by a process of elimination and say, okay, now we can't get the land first. Because when you study Chinese people, when you study the Japanese, they have parliaments and they have military. The black people are the only people who don't have military. This has a lot to do with spirituality. Because spirituality is common sense. It's common law. It has nothing to do with paperwork. It's common law. So, you've been abducted by somebody else's laws. We've been abducted by somebody else's ways of living and traditions. You get what I'm saying? So, and not to get off the subject, so when you hear people saying that they come from planet X or whatever, when you hear Dr. Malachi York, saying he come from this planet, he's not talking about, or they are not talking about the physical body coming from these planets. They are talking about the soul, which is the information or the energy that has fallen into the flesh, which is the body that we see now. You see, but these Europeans got you thinking that aliens are some damn green monsters from another planet coming back to attack Earth so that they can keep you looking outside of yourself, when the real deal is that we are the extraterrestrials. We are the dark matter in the universe. We are the stars, the moon, the sun, and all that you see, all that you encompass. That's you, the negative, the positive. You see, I get calls all throughout the day and all throughout the night from brothers and sisters telling me that they are waking up in the middle of the night between the hours of 2:30 and 3. Why is that? This is because the universe, which is a fragment of you and your body, is awakening or giving birth to new souls that is a part of you from a past life again, and you are metamorphosizing and shifting along with this information. You see, we all consist of volume. We are walking bodies of music that can be altered or diluted from what we see, what we eat, and from the signals displayed from the satellites around us. It's just like the sun, which is a disk full of volume, which distributes music into the atmosphere to connect with us melanated beings by way of photosynthesis. This is why we get vitamin D. It's not really vitamin D. This is just a European word. Vitamin D has nothing to do with nutrients. The sun, when it's distributing communication to us, is giving us a part of ourselves or a fraction of ourselves that's missing. Just like when you lose blood, which is the soul, you have to gain it back. But how do you get it back? Not through anything physical. Not through anything physical. It's just like proteins. You can't get proteins outside of yourself. Proteins is inside of yourself. Proteins are extraterrestrials. Why? Anytime anything evolves, that makes it extraterrestrial. That's why we are the aliens invading Earth over the hybrid people, which is the white people. They are vampires. Big difference. Why are we the aliens invading Earth? And how is that? When I say that anything that evolves is an extraterrestrial, see, again, I'm going to use proteins. We have something that's called melanocytes. White people don't have it. So when the sun rays or the tissues from the sun touches the melanocytes, which is the cells or the surface cells of the skin, it downloads into the melanocytes, which produces natural proteins. This is a form of extraterrestrial acts. White people don't do that. They have to put sunblock on. They burn. They'll tell you that they were the first people. But how were they the first people when they even say themselves that they are 6,000 years old or a little over 6,000 years old? And then you have anthropologists such as, different Europeans such as themselves who said that they are in Africa finding bones of all women over 3.2 million years old. So the chronology is not adding up. The chronology is not adding up. So the highest form of extraterrestrial is the black woman. Why do I say that? Because she acts as the universe. So you have the nations of the gods and the earths, the 5%ers that say, well, the black woman is the earth. She's the earth and they the God. I digress. Why? Because to dement the black woman to a fragment of just the earth, that's very disrespectful. Because it's not just the earth that produces, it's the universe that produces, which is a matriarchal act, which is a feminine act. Men don't do that. Even when you study the dark matter, the womb is the same spiritual color as the dark matter because it produces dark energy. Dark energy becomes life. 9 months of gestation. So when you study the constellations of Orion, every 9 months something is being produced, which is what? A star, whether it's a movable star or whether it's a movable star. It's being produced, which is a fraction of that which produces it, which is the creator. It's all matriarchal. You have to understand that before the patriarchal system came in, it was a matriarchal system. Why is that? Because when you study the black woman in particular, and I ain't talking about no white woman because she don't even have 2 X chromosomes. See, this is what we fail to realize. We think that because we're looking at the sex and saying, okay, the female overall has 2 X chromosomes. The white woman don't have 2 X chromosomes. It's only the black woman. We need to get that straight. She is the creator of civilization. So when we study in the black woman, we have to understand that she has certain DNAs in her body that the black man himself don't have. So now you have NASA saying that there are distinct sounds of music being played on Mars. But they are covering up the fact that this is you who they are talking about. When they talking about they hearing distinct music or sounds on Mars, it's talking about now we are producing a high rhythm vibration within our soul that is now tearing down the diagrammal existence and physiology of who they are. So even with white women sleeping with black men, they're taking themselves out of existence, even though they don't exist. But since we're talking to people who may have newborn souls on the phone, we're going to say that we're going to speak in that language, because you don't give a child meat. And I'm just speaking from an example, because I wouldn't give a child meat, period. You get what I'm saying? Because we know what it does to you. But most of these souls that are returning will even cause some of these crackers to start killing each other. And if you listen to these white scientists, they are even admitting that the capacity of their brain function is declining. And so now you are seeing them making mistakes, killing people, doing minor surgeries and things like that. This is the sign. This is the sign. This is because they are shutting down and malfunctioning. You get what I'm saying? So when you studying nature, we studying black people, we are the aliens. It's just like when you go into Revelations, they say the mark of the beast is 666. Black people consist of 6 electrons, 6 protons, and 6 neutrons. That's our DNA. So they can teach you to hate yourself by way of a religion that they taught you is spirituality, when it's not. Religion and spirituality is two different things. Spirituality is the extraterrestrial. Why? Because it has an extra essence in it, which is the soul substance that lives on forever. Energy don't die. That's what black people are. We are a high count of frequency and vibrational energy. We don't die. We don't die, we multiply. You know, they was right. When you watch Bebe's Kids, we multiply. And this is what they know, because when you study former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, he tell you that, you know, we have to depopulate of people who's giving birth at a high rate, which is who? Black people. We giving birth at a high rate. And this is what scares them. They even have a study now saying within the next 20 years, if white people do not produce from their own kind, they will be extinct. So people who have a negative nature, what do you think they're thinking? They're coming for us. It's not a physical thing when they shooting our boys down. It's a spiritual thing. It's about the organs. It's called black market organ harvesting. They will set up an event just so that they can get your organs. You may have somebody, if I'm a person who's working in a private corporation and I got money and I have a contract with George Washington Hospital and I know somebody who need a kidney, and in their database we have black people who a black person in their database within George Washington who match that kidney of the person that I know, I will pay somebody to set up a crime or an event where, you know, it may be a drive-by shooting. And a little boy might get shot. It may be that little boy who they needed for that transplant. And so now you got another one of our little boys dead because a private corporator who needed something had the money to pay it off just so they can kill our children and use our organs for their benefit. This is what they're doing. They cause things to happen. It's just like when you study in the cars, Toyota and all of that. This year, it's going to be a lot of fatalities as far as car accidents. Because they have new parts within these cars that they are making where they can cause your car